Today is episode 3 of Wanderlust 101.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this in real time, you may be thinking, hey, why didn't you release a podcast last week? And
if you're watching in live time, you'll notice.
You'll notice it's totally my fault.
Okay, let's jump back and talk about last week, because last week was a great week. We had a lot of driving, we had a lot of fun, but this past episode, the one that we're recording now, this is our third time recording this episode. This episode, I am bound and determined to get it out. It's not that it's so amazing. I mean, keep listening because I think it's okay, but it has been like pulling teeth to get this one out.
It is. We finally, after the second take of recording last week's episode, I had the micro SD card and then I lost it.
Lost the micro SD. And that, Chris, let me just say, Chris is really great about consistently keeping track of all of our memory cards, all of our batteries. He's always making sure everything's charged, all the memory cards are dumped off, that we can, record or whatever. This is not like him to lose this little micro SD card. I mean, they are like,
They're
half
so
an inch
tiny.
big. They're so tiny.
They're so tiny. So if you're not listening in live time, just pretend that this announcement didn't happen and that we have everything under control and we are very responsible adults. But welcome to What No One Tells You. I'm Chris.
I'm Sarah.
And we are travelers. We like to travel, and this podcast is kind of about adventures or other people's adventures.
Everyone's adventures. I think we said that this is a travel podcast, but it definitely dives into lifestyle. But this little mini series that we're in right now is called Wanderlust 101. We don't love that name. We sort of threw that out there as a joke. Not even a joke. We're like, Wanderlust 101. And then it just sort of, we called it that in the first episode, and then in the second episode, here we are today. So I think we're stuck with it.
We're stuck.
But Wanderlust 101, and each episode, you can go back and listen to the other ones, are about different topics. So the first week was about choosing your first destination. The second one was about packing, like what to pack. And today we are talking about navigating the actual launching into the travel process. So whether that's at the airport or loading up the car for a road trip, we're just going to kind of like walk you through that process. Maybe you have nerves or jitters about flying, or maybe you are always forgetting something for a road trip. This is kind of like how we go about both of those processes.
Yeah, because if you've never flown before, it can be daunting to going into a major airport and trying to figure out where to go, what to do, who to talk to. This episode is for you. And it's not just about airplane travel, it's about road travel too, because a lot of our travels have been by road.
Yeah. If you don't know who we are, we do travel, like Chris said, but I'd say we're not typical YouTube travelers in the sense that travel for us looks really slow. Like we'll go and stay at a place for a month at a time, or we'll travel on the road in our truck camper like we're in right now. So this is the first time you're listening. We are in our truck camper in Crested Butte, Colorado right now, which is beautiful. We should have positioned the truck to where in the background outside this window, we had Crested Butte, because like we can see it out the front window. You guys don't get to see it, but we can see it.
I didn't reverse the truck.
Whoops.
I'm sorry.
We'll enjoy it for y'all. Anyway. So that's sort of who we are. And most of y'all probably know that by now, but this is sort of our take on the different ways of traveling and being prepared. So let's just go ahead and launch into it.
Oh, I do.
Should we start with road trips, or should we start with airports first?
Let's go ahead and start with airports, because I feel like that's the one. If you're taking a big trip, a vacation, that's probably, a lot of people do that and they buy flights. So let's do it. We bought our ticket.
We buy our tickets. Let's start with the night before. You're at home, and if you're like me, okay, this is a really honest moment, y'all, but I'm going ahead and saying this because we have an episode coming out about it in a few weeks. But it's a very new thing for me, but I'm a fearful flyer. This is in less like 2 years.
Yeah.
I haven't let it stop me from flying, but it's not fun for me now. I used to love it. But anyway, I say all that to say it's been a whole new process for me every time we've flown the last few years, that I don't love it. And that's one reason why sometimes we're like, we'll just go for longer, because getting on that plane is very stressful for me. Like I don't eat for a couple of days before. Like I am just wrecked.
You are.
And I don't usually skip meals. Like I like to eat. So that's a very bad sign.
And we finally got lounge status. This is the first time ever in our lives we're able to go into a lounge. And so they have free food. And I'm back there with a Ziploc bag, like bagging everything. I'm just, not really, but you don't, you do lose your appetite, and you're missing out on this good food.
I don't want to say every flight's fearful for me, because I've had a few lately that have been completely fine. And like I said, we have a whole episode where we talked to a pilot about this. I already recorded it. It comes out in a few weeks. But I don't dread every flight. Sometimes I'm totally fine, but sometimes it's just like this mental game of like claustrophobia. I don't want to be stuck in this plane for so long. Like I can't sit still. So anyway, the night before is really where the preparation starts for me. I make sure I am packed before, the day before at least. That's not how I used to travel. I used to travel packing morning of, and I just throw things in a suitcase and be like, whatever, on the way to the airport. I can't do that anymore because morning of, I need every possible thing. Not that you can schedule out life perfectly, but I need as few issues and hiccups in my day, things less to stress about as possible. Like I don't need to be worrying about, did I forget my passport? Did I forget my socks for my tennis shoes? Like I just want to make sure I have everything, I'm done, and I can focus on relaxing and enjoying the day.
So how do you go about doing that?
So night before, go to bed early. If I can, I will go to bed early. I will take a bath or like a hot shower, just relax, go to bed, read, do not get on my phone. You know, all the things they say like sort of amp up anxiety. I really try to loosen or stop that a few days before. I also, about a few days before, sometimes a week, I will go to decaf coffee and get myself off caffeine, and I will not drink caffeine the day of the flight because it just like amps up.
Man, you're
everything.
thinking a week ahead now.
I'm trying, but it's not perfect because I love my morning coffee, especially on the way to the airport. Like I used to be that person in line for coffee before the flight. I'd walk in with my grande latte or whatever it was. Anyway, now I just cut that out. It kind of helps me. I make sure all of our electronics are charged. Actually, I say I do that, but that's your job. You're really good at that.
I'm plugging in everything. I'm making sure all the batteries are charged. And we should say the night before, everything is packed. We make sure that everything is in our suitcase, ready to go, except for the electronics, which are charging.
Well, you're actually really good about getting that done early in advance. Like our guest bedroom, the bed in there, it looks like mission control. I mean, we have like all these wires. It looks like Chris is building something dangerous, but like all these wires, all these batteries, and he gets everything lined up for us. He empties all the memory cards off, charges all the batteries, and that tech stuff is the most important. We make sure we have every wire adapter we need. Y'all may not need all this, but if you do travel for work like we do, make sure that you have all of your work stuff too, not just your clothes for vacation, but have your work stuff. And that's what the night before looks like for both of us. It's just getting all of those little things in order so we're not stressed the next day. Oh, and downloading shows on our iPads.
Yes, download. Make sure you have Netflix or Disney Plus, something that, whatever you're streaming, whatever your streaming services, download your shows, because the worst thing possible is trying to connect to the Delta Wi-Fi and it's not working.
That, and a lot of planes, one, they don't have Wi-Fi yet. It's more common now, but they don't have Wi-Fi or they don't have TV screens in front of you. Yeah. So you want to look at your airline, whoever you're flying, and see what their entertainment looks like. So like for American Airlines or Alaska Airlines, they don't have TVs in the back of their seats anymore. So you watch it in the app.
You watch it in the app, but they have an iPad stand for you or a phone stand, and they're like, oh, look what we did. But really, they saved themselves money, but they're making it look like they did you a favor.
Yeah, they didn't. But, okay, so TV is very important, making sure you're distracted on the plane.
Yeah, maybe you have your favorite podcast downloaded, like this one.
Yes, because I know we're the most soothing thing to listen to when you're stressed on a flight.
Yeah,
when you're running through the airport and you're already anxious, you need us in there.
Yeah, talking about how we're not prepared for anything. So...
Okay, so we've got night before, day of comes. Well, what does your morning look like?
The morning the flight comes, we have everything packed, everything's ready to go. I try to have a cup of coffee, and then we typically have somebody either drive us to the airport or we take an Uber there. So we live in a small town, we're able to do that.
Small town also means you get like two different flights. We're either on the 5:30 a.m. flight to Atlanta or we are on the 7:45 p.m. flight to Atlanta. Yeah. So it's never like this in between. Getting Ubers is like next to impossible in our town.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so it's mostly relying on friends.
They're very kind. Anyway, so morning of, we get to the airport. We're going through the motions. First thing is you drop off your bags at customs. One thing that we are starting to do is putting air tags in our suitcase so we're sure not to lose them. Like, yes, the airlines say they track your suitcase, but we learned this trick from some other travelers. Put it in the suitcase. So that way you know where it's at in the world. So if somebody can't find it, you can say, look, I know it's in Cairo, Egypt. I can see it right now. My air tag says so.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to Chicago, but somehow my luggage is in Cairo.
How did that happen? There's this one part in Seinfeld where Jerry and Elaine are checking in at the airport, and Elaine's being really difficult to the guy who's checking in her luggage outside. And Jerry's nice, and so he puts Jerry's luggage back on the flight to New York, and he tosses hers to Honolulu. So always be nice to the people at the gate.
Always be nice. Yeah.
So luggage counter.
Yeah.
Any tips for that?
So you're at the luggage counter. One, always be nice to the attendant there, like Sarah said.
General rule of thumb.
It's just a good rule of thumb, because they have to deal with hundreds, if not thousands of people. And if yeah, if you're not difficult, it's probably a good day for them.
And I think a lot of people blame the people working the counters and think that they're the ones, or they act like they're the ones who cancel the flight, or they're the ones who lost the bag. They are the ones checking you in, and they really don't, to my knowledge, have that much power.
Yeah.
They can't just give you free vouchers all the time. I mean, they don't have that much power. They're working their job and getting by.
Yeah. And one way, for whatever reason, a lot of people don't use the digital kiosk.
Yeah.
They don't. And they need to, because you can save time and actually cut the line and then get in line to put your luggage in.
Yeah. Most airlines offer like a little digital kiosk. So even if you've checked in on the mobile app ahead of time, you go to the kiosk, and if you're checking luggage, you go and print out the tag at the machine, and then you put the tag on the bag yourself, and then you just drop it off. That way you aren't standing in the massive queue to like have them check it in, take your passports. Like you do all that on your own. So you just drop it off and run.
Yeah. And for the digital kiosk, all you have to do is put a credit card in, or your passport, or you can even search by your last name.
And your ticket number. Yeah, they just need to verify that it's you that's going with that bag.
Yeah.
So that's really not that hard. Getting through luggage to me is not that bad. Then again, we 9 times out of 10 fly out of a very tiny airport, and our security check line and everything is like next to nothing. We have been there before, an hour before flight, and there's literally no one behind the counter working our airlines booth. Like, where are they? And the plane leaves in an hour.
Yeah.
There's just no one there. We have to go find them.
Oh, gosh.
Good times.
Yeah, good times. All right. This is the easiest part. Let's just say everything goes off without a hitch. You've went to the kiosk, you've got your ticket, and now, that's another thing that we need to talk about really quick. You can either print your ticket or have it in the app.
Yes, you can. Do you have a preference? I just do the app. It's easier.
I do the ticket.
Why do you do that?
I'm old school.
You are old school.
I'm analog.
Speaking of old school, your birthday's coming up this next weekend. So
is.
everybody wish
It is.
Chris a happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Should we tell him the age, or we just want to be ambiguous?
No, let's just say
Are we that age now that we don't tell our age?
I'm 23 and...
You're 23? Oh my gosh, no, you're not 23. But okay, we should just tell your age, because I think you look really young for your age.
Oh, well, somebody the other day said I did not
I was
look young.
going there, though. That's where I was heading.
I will be 35.
He's going to be 35. He is 1 year older than our truck.
And this jerk at the other day I just need to vent this out. He looked at me and he was like, what are you, like 40, 45? And I wanted to come alive. I was actually at the dump station for our RV.
Why do people strike up? Every time Chris is dumping out our toilet at a dump station,
They always want to strike up a conversation.
every time. I mean, this is in the old vans and the new truck. I mean, it is just like the water cooler.
They're like, yeah. So I wanted to sling our toilet at him for calling me,
45.
Yeah.
I don't think you look 45. I think you really do look
It
young.
is what it is.
You
All
take
right.
care of your skin well.
I do the printed ticket just because I like having something in my hand, but now is the time to go through security. This is where it all comes to, like the battle. It's not really a battle. It's just kind of...
It's everybody's favorite part.
Yeah, everybody's favorite part. Key number 1, wear something comfy.
With socks.
And socks. Wear socks, because if you don't have pre-check, if this is your first time going through security, they're gonna make you take off your shoes.
Take off your shoes.
Yeah, and you don't want your nasty feet on that nasty floor.
Let's go back a second and talk about TSA pre-check.
Okay.
So that works only domestically. So if we are flying internationally out of the U.S., sure, we get to use pre-check on the way to that destination. But on the way back, we still have to do the same procedures as everybody else, like taking off the shoes, taking the electronics out of the bag. But let's talk about TSA PreCheck. If you're not sure what that is, essentially it's this verification you can get on your ticket. Like you get a little number, and it's good for like 4 or 5 years, and you have to renew it. But what it is they do a background check on you to make sure that you're not like a huge threat. There's certain things that you can't have a criminal record. So there are a few things that could keep you from getting TSA PreCheck. But a lot of people do qualify, and we qualified. So what that means is when we go through security, they'll have on our ticket TSA pre-check, and we don't have to take our electronics out of the bag. We don't have to take our shoes off. We don't have to go through
we don't take our laptops out of our bag, anything. You just got to make sure you're not wearing metal for the metal detector, and that's it.
The liquid rule still applies. We can't have more than 3.4 ounces in a container. But other than that, it is so much smoother. And so traveling for us, since we both carry cameras and laptops and iPads, I mean, it is not fun going back through security when we're there. I mean, it's just, that's my least favorite part, because we're like pulling out all of our electronics. I'm like trying to keep an eye on it, make sure nobody sweeps one and steals my laptop
And rarely is somebody that bold to steal something out of the security line. But I did just see a video of a TSA agent doing that from Miami.
No,
Yes.
what'd they steal?
Just something from somebody's bag. I don't know what it was, but yeah. So we do try to be cautious in there. That is the reason it made national news is because it never happens.
Never happens.
And this kid who was a TSA agent decided to, break the rules.
I wasn't even thinking agents. I was thinking about people behind me in line. Like they see, because you have to sometimes leave your bin and then walk through the security thing and you can't get back to it. And I'm always worried that somebody's going to like snatch my phone or something real small and it's easy to grab. But yeah, I just keep an eye on that. So that's never fun. But we make through security. The other fun thing with security is we take Kramer through security. And that's always...
That is always fun. I always want to film that part because it's so awesome.
It's so hilarious.
But I'm not allowed to film during the security checkpoint.
They don't like that. But if you're traveling with an animal and you're curious what that looks like, they can't go through the scanner thing with you. Kramer has to sit out. He's looking at me right now. Kramer has to sit on the other side of the scanner that you walk through. I have to take his leash off him, his collar, everything that has metal. He sits there. I walk through. And then as long as I'm good, they say, I have to say the word, okay. And so he comes and then he like walks through the scanner on his own to make sure he doesn't set it off. Thankfully, Kramer's really good, but he's really funny because he thinks it's a game.
Yeah. And
he's like, this is awesome.
He's professionally trained.
He is.
But he still acts like a puppy when he runs. And so he sits very proper. And then when Sara says, okay, it's just like all the life comes back into him and he's so joyful and he just
like,
hops.
Hey!
He just hops right through the metal detector. And then every time the security agents just roll their eyes.
They think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Yeah.
The pet loving ones are. Anyway, so that's one more thing we have to do. So if you're curious about traveling with a pet, know that at least for dogs, they make him stand on the other side and wait for me. So make sure your dog's well trained. Maybe that's different for some people. I don't know.
I'm sure. Well, if they have their dog in a carrier,
I don't know what that looks like. Kramer's always on a leash.
Yeah. I think they're always, I don't know if they go through the x-ray machine or not. I don't think they do.
Yeah, I've never had a security line tell me to put him in a cage or anything. So you're through security. You get into the terminal. Like you said earlier, we have lounge access at a lot of airports. So if we have a lounge access, we go, we get breakfast. We try to calm down, for me at least. Chris will go and just stuff his pockets full of chocolate croissants or whatever they're serving.
Oh, man. I'm like, hey, this is free. Anytime. It doesn't matter if I'm at a hotel, gas station, wherever. If it says free, I'm all about the free. And I will take my free sample.
Yes.
And this is free food.
Yes. So we go to the lounges if we can. If not, we sit out in the terminal like common folk that we've always been. But until this year.
Until this year.
No, the lounges are really nice because they do give you kind of a quiet place, especially for me if I'm having an anxious day where not looking forward to the flight. If I know it's going to be a turbulent flight, I can go in there and it's quieter. It's not complete chaos. There's not constant, intercoms going off of like, make sure you don't see any unattended luggage. And like constantly there's something going off.
Yeah.
You can go in there and kind of have a quiet moment. I've slept in a chair before. Like it's nice.
Some lounges you even have massages or you can get your nails done.
Oh my gosh. The Centurion one.
Yeah. So, and if you're saying to yourself, well, how do you get into these lounges? There's a lot of different ways.
Yeah. We're not big on pushing credit cards. We didn't have credit cards for years. Like that's how we were raised, but we do have travel credit cards now. And so we don't push them because I know some people may not be great with managing money and that's totally your call. But we do have one that gets us into lounges and it's expensive and it's the Platinum card by Amex. And we may cancel it because Delta just changed up all the rules for lounges and we fly Delta 9 times out of 10. And since we can't use their lounges anymore as often, we used to get like unlimited access to a Delta lounge when we were flying Delta, and they just cut it back to 6 access passes a year for our credit card, which is completely a joke to me for how much we pay for it. We don't need to get started on that. But where was I going with that?
So how else do you get?
You can buy passes to like Priority Pass, and our credit card does include that too. But there's other credit cards out there that include memberships to Priority Pass that don't cost what our credit card costs.
Yeah, and maybe you don't want, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you don't want a credit card, but you still want to get into a lounge. You can still pay for a day pass.
You can still pay for a day pass. And if you have a long layover, maybe it's worthwhile. Because, heck, buying lunch and a coffee out in the terminal is going to cost you $25 a person.
Yeah.
So it's really up to you. Not all lounges are created equal. The one that we were talking about with the massages and the manicures and stuff, that was actually the Centurion Lounge in Dallas. And not all Centurion lounges have that. There's usually something special in each one. And that one just so happened they had, quick manicures. It was like a 20-minute manicure and a 20-minute massage or something like that. And they had full availability when we were there. So I got a manicure on our layover. Yeah. It was kind of fun.
But Sarah's right. If you look at the day pass price and then look at what you would pay for a Starbucks coffee, and then maybe you're going to eat lunch in the airport, depending on how long your layover is, it could be worth it just to buy the day pass.
That's how we justified getting the travel credit cards. We were like, okay, we're flying more. We haven't this year. That's kind of kicked us in the butt a little bit. But
Yeah.
last year we did fly more, enough to pay for the credit card when you counted up all the layovers and the days. And, it made sense because we would go, we'd have, 5-hour layovers. We always have at least one, but usually 2 layovers because we fly out of Chattanooga, which is really small. Do the math on it. It does make sense for us, but it may not for you. But day passes are totally an option. You can buy a priority pass membership aside from the credit card. But I think that's probably more expensive than some of these credit card memberships, and they include more perks.
All right. So maybe you've gotten to the lounge, or maybe you're just sitting at your terminal. The best way to find your terminal, again, is looking at, typically airports have a big display, a big screen.
I think everyone does.
Yeah.
They're probably required.
I think they are too. So you're at your gate, and then it's time for your flight.
Yes. All right. So sitting at the gate and in the airport lounge, though, noise canceling headphones. From the moment night before, I'm downloading my calm music or my happy music or whatever that looks like, it changes. Like if I'm not anxious, I don't stress about it. But I like to have it ready just in case. So for me, that looks like some of my favorite instrumental music. I'm kind of old school like that, even classical music.
You listen to air though sometimes.
Yeah, that's my other thing. So sometimes the sound of the engine is just one more noise. I don't like noise. And I figured out that if I had not even white noise, but the box fan, I had downloaded 8 hours of a box fan on my phone for the flight. It was back from Brazil. It was a 10-hour flight, and I played this on playlist. It lasted me almost the entire flight, but it almost mimics the sound of the engine. So when the engine would do different things, I didn't notice it as much.
Yeah.
So that was actually really nice. It was just white noise enough that I could fall asleep.
I picked it up and I listened to it, and it was it was just like that. I'm like, "You okay, Sarah?" And she's like, "I'm fine. I'm fine."
I'm the psychopath who cannot. I don't really watch TV on planes. My attention span's not great.
You don't read books either.
I can't. I mean,
you
occasionally
read books, but not on the plane. Yeah.
She doesn't read.
I'm smart.
I am smart. Plane. You download TV shows. Sometimes we work.
Yeah. Sometimes we work. A lot of times it is hard to pull out of a laptop, especially if you are sitting in economy and you're very close to your neighbor.
We have 16-inch laptops. It's bigger than the tray table.
Yeah. It's it can be bigger than the tray table. So, but it is doable. It's a good time to work or journal or just get something done. Because you are essentially in the air for 2.5 to 8 hours, however long your trip is, and you're there. You can't go anywhere. You're just there. Yeah,
for the long haul flights, we try to, handle our jet lag. There's apps out there. What's the Time Shifter? Is that the one? There's an app called Time Shifter, and it actually, you start using it if you did before you travel, and it starts telling you okay, wear sunglasses inside, or go to bed at this time, make sure you drink water, eat your meals at this time, just to kind of help you with the jet lag. It tells you you put where you're going, and it helps you figure out what the best process is. So there's little tips like that. But for us, on a long haul flight, we will sleep some. We'll eat a little bit. We will try to work. I would rather be productive on a plane and actually work. Watching TV is not my favorite off the plane either. So working is better for me. It keeps me distracted, keeps me entertained. The plane passes faster working.
Yeah.
But for you love, this is your chance to.
This is my chance to catch up on TV shows, just kind of relax, just, do whatever.
Vacation or not.
Yeah. And I think one thing we forgot to mention, we do like to pack little protein bars in our bags.
Yeah. So if you've ever watched our gear video we released, I think it was back in May, we have this little tech pouch by Peak Design that we love. And this little tech pouch holds everything that we need. It holds our phone chargers and our hard drives, but we also in there throw a few cosmetic things. So we always carry, I carry chapstick, moisturizer, face wipes. And then we both always carry protein bars and some sort of water supplement for electrolytes, like a liquid IV or Noon.
Just to have, because, they have the cart that comes down into the airplane and they'll give you a free Coke and then a Biscoff cookie or something like that.
Oh, those Biscoffs.
Those Biscoffs, man. But sometimes you may need a little bit more. And then after a while, one of the best things that you pack, the face wipes, because just being on an airplane, no matter how long the distance, you just kind of feel yucky.
Yeah. I always bring a deodorant, some mouthwash. I don't care if the flight's only 4 or 5 hours. I bring these because I know that when I get off the plane, usually we have to go somewhere after that. Either the hotel's not ready or we're hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
So I always bring a little mouthwash, some deodorant, face wipes, moisturizer, chapstick, because the planes will dehydrate you, which is why we also bring the water electrolyte things just to kind of like make sure that we're drinking enough, that we are replenished, that when we get there, we're not feeling worn down and exhausted any more than we have to.
Yeah.
Oh, compression socks. That's the other one.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about dressing comfortably.
Yeah, that is. Dress comfortably. These fools who are on business meetings in suits going somewhere, they're fools.
No, they have to.
They have to. I'm saying dress comfortable because you're traveling. And at the end of the day, who cares what you look like? Yeah. You're just getting from point A to point B, and do it in style. Do it in sweatpants.
Man, my favorite, like Vuori is one of our favorite brands. It's not cheap. But man, those things, like they last a long time and they are so soft, and also Athleta. I love their pants. Like I'm actually wearing them right now. They're like my around the house or truck pants. They're so soft and comfy, but we both like to wear really soft things in layers because I get cold on the plane. So we like to layer up. And compression socks. I know that sounds like an old person thing, but man, I've worn those for years, even after a long run. Like they just help you recover, but it helps your circulation so your legs and your feet don't get as swollen.
Yeah. Here's another tip. Look at the flight, where you're at in the flight. See what the time is. Say it's about 45 minutes until you land. The pilot normally says, hey, we're coming in for a landing around 30 minutes. So at 45 minutes, go to the bathroom. Before all the rush happens, because he makes that announcement, and it's like,
good luck.
All of a sudden everybody's like, oh, I got to use the restroom. But they don't do it at 45 minutes. They do it at 30.
They do, usually around 30 minutes. And if you have to sit on that runway for a long time waiting for a gate to open, they won't let you go to the bathroom.
That's right.
That's a very miserable place to be, because I have been in that position before.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there crossing your legs.
Not
fun.
Yeah. And we always prefer the aisle and the middle seat.
You're really kind to me for that.
We sit next to each other.
We do.
The window seat, yes, it's beautiful to be able to look out, but think about it. If you've got to use the restroom, you've got to crawl over 2 people, sometimes 5. Not really. I mean, well, I guess not.
Not really 5. Usually it's 3 rows.
Yeah.
Next.
So, but you still have to crawl over 2 people. And if you're not family or friends, it gets awkward very fast.
It's not fun. I've had to be that person tapping on some gentleman's shoulder, like, excuse me.
Especially while he's snoring.
I have to pee. Excuse me. I always embarrass Chris. Yeah. So he gives me the aisle seat, and I usually have Kramer at my feet, and that gives him more room.
Yeah.
But yeah, do whatever works for you. But if you are like me and you get claustrophobic, aisle seat all the way.
Yes. All right. Now the flight's complete. You've landed. You're at the other airport. The best thing for me is rushing to the luggage.
Sometimes, but if it's been a long flight, like I talked about, I run to the bathroom, and that's where I kind of like wipe my face off. I do a little mouthwash. I feel fresh before I leave a terminal.
Yeah.
That's my chance, because you don't want to do that in the airplane bathroom unless you have to. Like, it just don't do it.
And I say rush. You don't have to rush to the luggage. The airline has to get it off, and they normally do it in about 20, 25 minutes.
Usually, I think it's Delta. I know. I need to look. I think it's 15 or 20 minutes. If your bag is not at the gate from the time your door comes open on the plane, like start the stopwatch, you get so many points. It's like 5,000 points.
Yeah.
Fly. My bag's always made it on time. I can't remember what the time limit is. I think it's 15 minutes.
Yeah. So it still takes a little bit of time for them to get the luggage over there, and you don't have to rush. Nobody's running around with your luggage. If you fly internationally, for whatever reason, the U.S. domestically, you don't typically see security guards around, but internationally at airports, especially like Central America, like I was just in Guatemala, they have at the luggage, they have security guards, and they will pick the luggage up for you, and then you have to go up to them to get it.
Yeah, that's much safer. It's a free-for-all in the U.S. I mean, they make you go through all this security, and then it comes to bags, and I cannot believe it's not more common for people to have stuff stolen.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Maybe it is. I've never heard of it. So let's talk worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, your flight gets canceled or your luggage doesn't make it. I think the number one thing I would recommend is keep your cool, breathe. It's going to be fine. Do not yell at the gate agents. You may have to be firm, not like aggressive firm, but just be like, hey, this is what happened. This is what I have to do. Could you help me rebook?
Yeah.
And just tell them exactly what you need. Like, know what you need and go in there with that ask. That's probably a better way of saying it than saying be firm. But go to the gate agent. But a little trick is we just had to do this recently in San Diego. I think our flight got canceled or was delayed or something. And so everybody there was trying to rebook. And so the line to get to the counter to talk to the people was about 2 hours long. So when we got in line, we went ahead and called the customer service line on the phone, and we're on the phone in line while we were standing in line. And we got through on the phone to handle the ticket issue within like 10 minutes. We would have been in that line for 2 hours. It was so long. It was at the door.
Yep. That's a good tip.
It's a little tip. Call and stay in line. So if something goes wrong, don't panic. I mean, obviously it sucks, but never put anything that's urgent that you have to have in your checked bag. There are certain things I never put in my checked bag. Like if I'm traveling with my engagement ring, I never put something that's, sentimentally or financially expensive or whatever. I don't put expensive things in that bag. I also don't put things like medication. If I need my medication, I don't put that in my checked bag because there's a chance you're going to lose it. So everything you're going to need, keep it on you in your carry-on. Yeah, keep that terminology.
Keep it on your person.
I don't know why that's a thing. I guess it's grammatically correct.
I don't know why either. Yeah, so, I mean, that's really what to expect going to an airline, flying for your first trip. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of different variables that we probably didn't
customs.
talk about.
We didn't talk about customs if you're going into a new country, declaring things.
Yeah. Oh, my favorite story to tell about declaring something is I was coming back into the U.S. I love these story times. I was coming back into the U.S. I was a teenager. And the customs guard said, "Do you have anything to declare?" And I looked at him and I said, "I'm home," like that. And he just rolled his eyes. He was not having me. He thought I was being a smart aleck.
You were. You were 100%. I wasn't there, but I know you were. I wasn't there, but I know.
So when they say, "Do you have anything to declare?" what they're really meaning is, did you buy something expensive or do you have a lot of money or produce? Yeah. And you want to tell the U.S. government about it.
And that's a whole nother thing. I have to go to the agriculture office and traveling with the dog. that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, make sure you have everything that you need to declare. Don't travel anything you're not supposed to. Don't travel with produce,
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is a great tip. Whether you're mostly for traveling international, but this could apply to everybody.
Always travel with a pen. Nobody uses paper and
always
pens
have a pen.
You're going to need it for the customs form on the plane.
You're going to need it. Yep. You're going to need it. So always
have a pen. All right, so let's go into road trips. Road trips is obviously not going to be near as extensive as a section here, but some of the same principles still apply. Packing ahead. That way you're not running around day of trying to make sure your house is locked up, that you've turned off the lights and the stove and, all that kind of thing. You can focus on actually the anticipation of the trip. They say half the fun of a trip is the anticipation, but if you're running around stressed the day or two before, it's not going to be fun.
Nope. Fuel up before your trip. So the night before, we always go to the gas station. Tank is full.
For coffee.
You never have to stop first thing in the morning.
So for driving, we definitely stop for coffee. But we always make sure the car's packed early. We still dress comfortably if we're on the road, assuming that, casually, comfortably enough to go in and out of, gas stations or wherever to go to the bathroom. We still wear compression socks if we can, because that's a really nice little way to keep circulation good. We get up and we walk around. The nice thing about traveling on the road is you have the option to stop whenever. You're more in control. I have a hard time sitting still. And traveling by road, every hour and a half, 2 hours, we stop.
Yeah. And it's really bad for you to travel for a long time
it's really
and not
bad.
Get up and do something. It's extremely bad for you. And we're guilty of, just hauling it, doing, crazy amounts of miles in a short amount of time. And that is not healthy. So we've been trying to implement
We just kind of
stops.
say, you know what? It's going to take us longer to get there. It may take an hour or two longer, but we feel better when we get there. Sometimes halfway through the road trip, if it's an 8-hour road trip, 10-hour road trip, we'll find somewhere to stop for usually lunch that has a town, maybe it has a town park with a dog park, and we will go run. Even if it's just a couple miles, we just go run and get that circulation going. Usually at rest stops or gas stations, we started this on our drive to Alaska several years ago. We try to do, 50 squats at every stop or, 50 jumping jacks. That way at least you're getting blood flowing again. You don't feel disgusting. So maybe by the time you've reached your destination 10 hours later, you've run 3 miles, you've done 200 squats and you've actually okay. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't go to the gym, but I still stretched my muscles today.
Yeah. And so you'll feel great doing that. And in the long run, you may show up an hour or two. The problem with Google Maps is that it gives you an estimated time of arrival. And then in my mind, I'm like, got to beat that number, time to beat. And so we still use Google Maps. We use our Garmin GPS as well. but I try not to look at that ETA because it just becomes a game for me.
It's interesting because Garmin, since it's our personal computer, essentially, it's learned our speed. It knows what we go under the speed limit in our new truck. So like Google will say, oh, you're going to get there in 5 hours. And Garmin says, no. I know you guys go 15, 20 under the speed limit. You're going to be there in 5 hours or 6 hours, whatever, like an extra hour or two later. Yeah. That's just kind of cool. I like the Garmin gives me a more realistic expectation, and it's usually right within a few minutes.
Yeah.
The other frustrating thing about routing, and this is something to keep in mind, is look at where you're going that day. See if you're going to hit any major cities. Mm-hmm. And if you are, try to avoid them before rush hour, or get there before or after rush hour. And then we sometimes plan our stops. Like if we know, okay, we aren't going to make it to the city before rush hour, we'll stop on the other side of the city before we get to it and make that our long break. We'll go for the run. We'll go get dinner and just get out of the car, because otherwise we're wasting our life sitting in traffic. There's no sense in that.
And also, instead of buying snacks at a gas station or, on the road, fast food, what we like to do is go to a grocery store the night before and we buy all the snacks and then we'll load it in our car. Yeah. 1, it's cheaper. 2, it can be healthier. Yeah, sometimes it's not healthier, but
it's not if I let you go in there and shop and decide. If I let Chris go in there, he'll come out with a box of Pop-Tarts and a box of Cheez-Its.
Oh man, I'm just like, look, there was like 2 for 1. Like,
2
look
for
at this.
1.
Yeah,
we're set. No, you're not that bad. But man, if you do see some Pop-Tarts, you go for them.
Oh gosh, the strawberry
Pop-Tarts, they're good.
Brown sugar.
Yeah. Oh, those are good. Okay, we're getting derailed again. But Trader Joe's is like our favorite place to get snacks. They have fun snacks for a good price, but we are spoiled now in our truck camper where we have a fridge and a freezer on the road. But even when we traveled in our truck, or like our old other truck that didn't have a fridge and freezer, or, a car, we would still take a little, those little red coolers that are like $30 at Walmart, little igloos. Yeah. We have one of those. They're great. We pack, sparkling waters in there. We pack some salads or wraps or whatever we end up buying at Trader Joe's. Like the lunch stuff we'll throw in there. And that way we have healthier food that can be kept cold, whether it's fruit or vegetables or whatever. And then if we're staying in hotels, we can redo the ice most nights. Most hotels have ice machines. So you can just like refresh the ice that day. It's kind of annoying, but you know that you're eating healthier and saving money.
Yeah. So, I mean, traveling by road, I feel like is a lot easier than plane. It is much easier, I think. We also use Gas Buddy. That's something that we didn't mention. Gas Buddy we'll use to check the price of fuel, trying to get the cheapest.
Yeah.
And there we don't. Truck stops are great to stop at because they have
lots of bathrooms,
everything like that. But typically their pricing is really expensive,
especially on diesel, and we're diesel. So yeah, we try to find the best price. Usually it's like a Costco, and Costco's are usually close to the interstate. You can't do Costco very often because very few have diesel, but maybe you're gasoline and you can do it.
Yeah. But you have to have a membership for Costco.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
if you're in Idaho, Utah, Maverick gas stations are the best. If you're in,
you don't have to go gas stations.
If you're in the South, no, hang on. The people need to know this. The South, Buc-ee's. If you can do Buc-ee's is a weird demographic because you have a weird, like, I want to say that it's a Cracker Barrel.
It's like Cracker Barrel and Walmart had a baby.
It is, and so you have to deal with people at Buc-ee's. But man, it's fun.
I mean, they're doing their holiday shopping. They're getting their pulled pork sandwich.
Like they're doing everything.
You've got the line out the door for the bathroom, but they have 40 stalls. I've been in there and they've had bathroom attendants like waving people, checking every stall every time somebody comes out, and they're the cleanest bathrooms.
Yeah. So it's like a love-hate relationship with Buc-ee's. I want to go all the time, but then as soon as I pull in, I'm like, I've made the worst mistake.
I know. But man, they do have good snacks.
They do.
If we aren't going healthy on that trip, we could splurge on some Buc-ee snacks.
Yeah. So traveling by car is a little easier.
I really do prefer traveling by air. I think. No, I don't say. Why did I say that? That's not true. I really like road trips. I like going slower and seeing back roads. I don't know. They both have their advantages. Flying is really cool because you can get on the plane, and 8 hours later you can be somewhere totally different, which is amazing when it's the middle of winter. It's been 30 degrees and raining, and then 8 hours later you are in sunny Brazil, or something. Like it just is so nice.
Yeah.
Flying's amazing.
Yeah, but road trips are amazing too because you make a lot of memories on road trips.
You really get to see the back roads of places if you allow yourself to slow down, and that's one reason we're really excited about overlanding. Is just we get to go to these places, and most people never get outside that hour radius of an international airport when they go to a country.
Yeah.
They never get away from the transportation destination, like where the transportation goes, like a plane or a train and that's we're excited about that. So to each his own. There's a lot of pros and cons in both, but this is just sort of, how we navigate starting a trip.
Yeah. I hope this was helpful. If it was, could you leave us a review? That would be really helpful for us. It helps our show, and it just gets the word out, to new people about what no one tells you.
Yeah. All right, y'all. See you next time.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to What No One Tells You with Chris and Sarah. If you have a comment or question that you want answered on the air, be sure to send us a message to hello@chrisandsarah.com, or you can call or text our phone number at 423-825-9572. Thanks for listening.